Mankus is a realtor. He loves what he does. We asked Luke if he had any regrets about moving here in 2011. And he always says, yeah, one regret. And that is, he didn't move here sooner. When Luke came here, he didn't know anyone. He didn't know the neighborhoods or anything or anyone besides his daughter, who was 6 years old at the time. So he knows what it's like. Now, he's an expert and has helped well over 100 single people, couples, families, and investors with their real estate needs in the Okanagan. If you're new to our beautiful city, Luke can help you get connected with great lawyers, dentists, carpenters, landscapers, swimming pool installers, you name it. And whether you're new to Kelowna or not, Luke knows real estate. He can help you find a great property, negotiate a good deal, and hold your hand all the way through the process until the day you get your shiny new set of keys. Luke is known as a no-pressure kind of guy. He's had clients where it took even a year or more to get them into a property. He just doesn't believe in rushing things. On the other hand, when you decide it's time to act, he's diligent, and he'll work day and night until the job is done. Give Luke Mankus a call or a text message at any time, 778-215-4273. Again, that's 778-215-4273. 778-215-4273 to chat with Luke about real estate.
So, Brittney, you're one of the rare guests on the show that is actually from Kelowna.
Yeah.
Born and raised here. What was it like growing up here?
Well, I didn't know how amazing the Okanagan was because I was just born here.
Right.
I had to leave and come back to understand what a beautiful place we live in. My parents actually, so I was born actually in Vernon.
Okay.
And then we moved here when they bought Mission Meats.
Meats.
So, yeah.
Mission Meats. Wow.
My parents, they own a butcher shop. It's on the corner of Lexington and Lakeshore. And so they supply you with all the old-fashioned dry-aged beef, chickens, things like that. So
when was that? What year was that? Do you recall?
97.
97.
97 was when it was established.
Yeah.
That location has been there since the 1970s. So
Wow.
It's a heritage building, basically, in Kelowna.
Right.
Yeah.
That sounds so funny, 1970s being heritage, but I guess we're all getting up there, right?
Yeah, that was when Lakeshore was still a dirt road, right?
Yeah. Now, if I can ask, how old were you when this move happened?
I was 6 years old.
6 years old.
Yeah.
And do you remember moving here, or was
Yes.
your parents just saying, get in the car, we're going?
So how it ended up working, my parents were trying to manage the store from Vernon, right? So they were traveling back and forth all the time. And even though it's, about an hour commute, my brother was left in charge of me. So we were a lot of trouble.
How much older is he?
He's 7 years older than me. So he's like the third parent in the family, but still, he's a tween teenager, right? So
Yeah.
he was a troublemaker, and so was I.
Did you get into trouble?
A couple times.
What? Tell us.
We just fight a lot. I'd watch inappropriate shows for my age. Right? So I would have nightmares, and my parents would just be shaking their head like, what have you done, Stephen? So then they were like, okay, we need to be closer to home because, the first 5 years of owning a business, especially in Kelowna, can be pretty difficult. It's a very highly saturated market here just in terms of owning a small business. So the first 5 years were pretty difficult for them. They had to turn around a reputation, so build it back up.
So was it pretty soon after buying the business that they decided to move?
Yeah, a year after.
Year after.
They're
and that's
like,
a long
can't do
time
this. Yeah.
to commute. And
Yeah.
so tell us some of your early memories of Kelowna as a small child.
So going back to how bad of a kid I was, really wasn't so bad. But I always used to leave the playground at school, and because there's always farmers' fields around, so I'd go and I'd explore the snake pit, as we called it, and you'd find like garter snakes. I was terrible, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I'd have to write lines all the time. But I was always outside. So I was always doing something outside, and I kind of was left to my own devices as a little kid. So I'd just go play with things.
Right.
Play with worms. And
Right.
Snakes.
Would you bring stuff home?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I brought a cat home once.
Wow.
Mom, I found a kitten.
Were you
They're like,
allowed
oh
to
my
keep it?
God. No.
And you were heartbroken because you had to take it to SPCA or push it out the front door.
Yeah, I have a big heart for cats,
yeah.
kittens, and animals in general.
We do
so.
too. We
Yeah.
might get a couple visitors during this interview. We sometimes do. He likes to walk on the keyboard and come and introduce himself to you. That's Henry. So you said you had to leave Kelowna and come back to really appreciate how beautiful it is. Tell us when you left and when you came back.
So throughout high school and then basically while I was in high school, I thought I was going to move away right away. I've been looking at Victoria. There's something about Victoria that I really love. It's relatively the same size as Kelowna, but it's just got that, it's the Vancouver Island look, right?
Yeah.
So, and I was falling in love with like just the Parliament buildings and the way, like how green it was, because it is quite arid here, right? We're still a desert. So it just took me kind of doing those little trips with the family and then coming back to Kelowna. And then I finally, it was actually recently, because I was still trying to save up my money to move away and all of that stuff. So I went to Southeast Asia, and I spent 2 months actually in that area. So I went to like Thailand, Hong Kong, south to Malaysia, and Bali, Sri Lanka, lots of different places. Wow. I come back and I'm like, as great of an experience I had there, because I kept saying, why didn't I do this sooner? I came back home and I was like greeted by the mountains, and it was just so beautiful here. And like the amount of wine I have access to here, like, please.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, it was always there. I always knew how great the Okanagan was, but the true appreciation of it came when I was actually traveling in Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
And that was just a few years ago.
Yeah. It's, I was amazed. I lived in Dominican Republic for 8 or 9 months in 1995. And it was so beautiful, and the culture was so interesting. I learned Spanish, and I became bilingual, and I'm really grateful for the experience. But I moved to South Florida after that, and the things that you appreciate are just strange. Like, no potholes. Like, you could get injured just being a passenger in a car driving around. They have potholes that could take your axle out. Like, just crazy.
Yeah.
Having a smooth road to drive on, consistent electricity and running water, absence of like total filth and garbage, and it's
there's a reason why we pay taxes, right? Cambodia was, I remember Cambodia was the first one that my eyes really opened, because I crossed the border from Thailand. We had to walk over, and the first thing that you're kind of greeted with is like a bunch of impoverished children that are busy asking you for money or to buy something or to give you candy or whatever. And because you've done your research before you've gone traveling, that a lot of these kids have been kidnapped and like they're actually working for somebody,
slaves,
right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of, it's terrible. So that was like my first impression of Cambodia. It's a wonderful country, but like there's a lot of issues. Like the old Khmer Rouge, one of the guys who was part of it, he's actually the president now.
Wow.
Right? So, like,
Amazing.
It's still, their recent history is still very much alive there, and it was,
incredible.
like I said, eye-opening.
Yeah. So, what about, you had kind of a desire to leave Kelowna, and what do you think caused that?
The good old spreading your wings and
Just
thinking
becoming
that...
an adult and becoming independent. And
that's what I thought becoming an adult meant. That you had to go explore and make sure, you stumble a bunch of times and find your way that way, right? I thought you had to leave, get one of those internship jobs or whatever. And, like, the job that I got at the radio station I work at now, Beach Radio and Power 104, I thought it was just going to be a job. Like, I was the events person, the ambassador for the radio station. So, and somehow that just turned into a career, and that's okay too. A lot of people think that again, they have to leave, do something, extravagant.
Right.
To become an adult.
Parents.
Yeah.
Is a big part of it, right? And are your parents still running the meat shop?
Yeah, over 20 years now.
Wow.
They've been doing that. So.
Do they still love it?
They do. I don't know. They don't eat as much meat as they used to. Maybe they've just had too much smoked products in their life. But I can say Dad's always making new products. He actually just started making a chorizo pepperoni.
Wow.
Oh, it's good. If you like spicy.
Do they sell like beef jerky and
beef
things
jerky.
like that?
I
love
he
beef
makes
jerky, so
beef jerky.
I want to check it out. I'm not sure if we shop there. We have.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you'll have to remind me. It's such an interesting city because it's a big city in the sense of everything you want is here.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of variety, so it's not just like a handful of restaurants. There's a ton of restaurants. But there's like 1 or 2 degrees of separation. Like everybody knows somebody.
I know.
That knows somebody. And it comes back around. It's interesting. But tell us, how did you get the job at the radio station?
Well, my parents actually have been purchasing radio since 2003 now. And our rep at the time, Sue, we loved her. She was like a friend, and she'd come in all the time shopping and, give us the rundown on our advertising. Uh-huh. And I remember hearing an ad on the radio for a salesperson. And this is me 20 years old, 19 actually, thinking, I could do that. Like, I'm just starting my Okanagan College degree.
Radio, you mean like voice?
Radio sales. So I'd be in the role I am in now. So
right.
Advertising, consulting, working with businesses, helping them to grow their bottom line, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to do at 20. And
so you just explain that. So you
Sure.
heard someone on the radio talking about what?
So it was a radio station advertisement saying, "Would you like a job as a salesperson?"
Ah, I see.
Basically, right?
Right.
And I was like, I sure do, because I'm a keener.
Right.
And so I talked to Sue, our rep, and she's like, yeah, let me get you in for an interview. And then I kind of come in, and she's like, so you're going to be the station ambassador, okay? And I was like, okay. Because I was prepared to, quit school to do this job, right? Because it's a full-time job, and I was just starting at the Okanagan College. Mm-hmm. So it just worked out perfectly. I had my weekend set. I had another job. I was always working for my parents, and I still always get conned into doing something for them.
Right.
But, it was a great job, and it allowed me to get through school with no debt, and, I came out way ahead. And then suddenly now it's my career path, right?
Wonderful. So what did you take in school?
It's my Bachelor of Business, and I specialized in marketing.
Did that change when you decided you were going to take this job, or was that what you had planned to do?
Maybe I'm just super practical, but I looked at a lot of the other people who, when anyone's picking what they want to go to school for, maybe I'll do this, that, and it ends up being very specialized. Right. I had picked business because it seems to be the backbone of every single industry. If you have business experience, you can always branch out and do something else.
Yes.
And so that's why I picked it. And then my first kind of year, because you don't pick your specialization until the second, third year, I had decided to do marketing because I actually really liked the psychology of it. Mm-hmm. Maybe I could have been a psychologist. Who knows? But I love the brain games that we kind of play when we're making a marketing campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Well, let's talk about that. So, how does psychology relate to marketing? What are some of the key principles that if someone's going to spend money, it's good if they understand this a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're asking people to commit to quite a lot of money in some cases. Mm-hmm. How does it work?
Well, a lot of times what'll happen is a business might focus on the features of their product and how great they work.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we're looking for the emotional, that pull, that anchor that makes someone want to buy something, right? And the feature is great, but it's actually that propulsion of, I need this product, right? And it's shifting that mindset and actually getting inside of, it's such a simple concept, but it's so hard to actually get it right. It's really interesting trying to find that emotional string that you get to tug.
It's interesting because I think of like transportation as an example. So if you say, well, this car will get you to work every day, there's no emotional, I could walk, I could take a bus, I could take a bike, I could buy a different car. But it's the emotional connection to that car that makes you want to buy that car. So it's not just about transportation.
Yeah.
It's not just about, hey, you can turn the key and it'll start. Well, who cares? Because lots of cars can do that, right? But it's like, this car is sexy, this car is fast, this car looks great, or whatever.
Yeah, this car is about family. Right?
Or
like, and you can feel that kind of, or it's exhilarating to drive this car, right? This is the car that your friends will be jealous of. So those are the things that get people excited when you're working on a marketing plan. And, you know, it's finding those moments of animation when someone is talking about their own business. It's like, this is why you're doing what you're doing. And how do we share that with your customers, right? Yes. So that's what we're always looking for at the end of the day. What makes your business great? What makes you really excited? Yes. And how can we share that with our listeners on the radio station?
So do you sell, right? But how involved do you get with the creative aspect of it? So you meet me as a realtor and you find out what excites me about being a realtor. Do you relay that to the creative department, or do you say you need to talk to so-and-so in creative?
Yeah, and it really depends on the person I'm working with. Sometimes they're like, nope, this is what I'm doing. This is my plan. Right. Here, please implement it. It can be as simple as that, right? Or I can be working with someone who's a little bit more needs direction. They don't quite have an idea of who they're targeting, why they're targeting them. You know, they've just got a product that they really love. So there's a whole range of businesses that I get to work with. And, you know, most people, they get into business for themselves because they don't want to work for someone else. Right. And they're in love with what they do. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they have a ton of business experience, you know. And, you know, maybe they didn't go to business school to get that backbone, right? They're just doing what they love, and they're kind of learning as they go, which is another great way to do it. Right. But, you know, with the people that are willing to kind of learn and kind of open up through their radio advertising, I get really excited because we can bring that person in and we have a whole creative department that will work with them. Yeah. And I come up with the strategy to implement that creative that we create.
Interesting. Because some salespeople I know, they say, well, I help sell, but I'm not really creative. So the client gets passed over to the creative, but you're actually in charge of the overall strategy. So you'll sit down with the client and the creative department and say, this is the strategy. Yeah, it's a big collaborative effort. It almost ends up kind of feeling like an agency approach where, you know, we're kind of start to finish. And if, you know, someone's looking for help on their digital side, we can also help with that, right? Because one of the things that I learned from my education was those integrated marketing plans. So you don't want to have dissociated pieces all over. Say you're doing radio, television, online, and if they don't match up, it's okay that they don't match, but it's better if they all kind of are working towards one thing, so that, you know, if someone is listening to the radio and then watching the news in the evening, you know, it's a consistent message across the board. Right. So we can kind of help say, hey, we suggest you can do this. So it's more than just, here, buy some radio commercials. Right. Because repetition is very important in marketing, and repetition can be expensive, right? So tell us how radio competes now in this age of YouTube and, you know, Facebook, and most people get their news from Facebook, I'm told. And there's so much content now. It's not like, I remember being driven to school and it was a 1-hour bus ride, and my bus driver would always have the same radio station on. So we listened to it. We learned the morning show. We learned all the characters, right? We heard the news of the day, and we were, you know, 12, 13 years old. And there was like a handful of stations, right? That we didn't have YouTube. No. Or anything like that. So how is it? Tell us about some of the challenges now competing with so much content.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people think that they can just pick one and just say that's an end deal, like that's it, that's all we need to do. And I think that's where we're kind of missing a little bit, you know. I still know people who spend over $1,000 on their digital advertising, which, you know, what are they getting for that, you know?
Yeah.
And really it depends on the person who's executing it, you know, because you can also do that not to its optimal ability, right?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of media options out there, and you know, we kind of do compete with those people who decide to just do one over another.
But
and
you
I
still
think they can.
it's effective, though.
Oh yeah, I think they work actually really well together. One article I remember reading, it was being sought versus being found. A lot of the digital advertising, you're kind of working on getting your SEO up so that you're on the top of the page. And that's when people are just searching for generic industry, right? And then you're on the top of the page. And what radio or broadcast medias will do is now you've got some brand awareness.
Yeah.
And instead, when you're looking for general industry, you're actually going to type in that business name. So we want to switch that kind of thinking from being found to being sought after. And it takes a lot of effort when you're looking at doing a branding campaign, right? But it's how you can accomplish it with, you can accomplish that with radio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're also a belly dancer.
I am.
Tell us how you got into belly dancing. When did that happen?
I think that was 6 years ago now. 6-7 years. I really don't like the gym. Like, I do not like the gym, actually.
Why?
I don't like running. I don't like weights.
Right.
I'm actually a pretty lazy person. But I also still wanted to be active, right? So I had found a belly dancing instructor online because I was looking up the different belly dancing that you could do.
What made you do that?
I randomly thought of it. I said, I could do that.
Really? Really?
I don't even know how.
You don't know?
I don't know how. I just maybe I could try belly dancing because I really like dancing.
Okay.
Actually, no, I do know how. I really like dancing. I used to do salsa Latin dances, but of course it requires you to have a male partner. Otherwise, you kind of just get partnered up with a random person, which is fine. But it wasn't my cup of tea.
Right.
So I did want to do something different. And it was the workout I was looking for. And then I found... Oh, sorry.
So going back, you were younger. You were into dancing. You didn't find it the best because you never know which male partner you're going to get.
Yeah.
Sometimes maybe they smell bad or they can't dance or stepping on your feet.
It's true.
And so you like dancing.
Yeah.
So but if you go back a little bit, do you remember when you first started to dance? Were you a little kid or how did you get into
I know my mother has video of me dancing to Barney. Does that count?
Yeah, that counts, yeah.
But no, I didn't. I got put into the jazz classes and things like that, but they felt so structured and regimented. Yeah. And when I found the belly dancing, I didn't continue on with any of those dances. But when I found belly dancing, I realized it was more than like belly fit. I think a lot of people are familiar with that. It's like a cardio, and you're like belly dancing. I thought it was going to be like that, but it's not. It's a community dance. It's improv. It requires communication through body language. It's actually really special to me now that I've found it because it's so unique from a lot of people are. There's a big gap. You know, we're so connected now, but yet we're not.
Yes, you mean socially.
Socially. So now I'm finding I'm connecting with people on a very deep level because we're not saying a word to each other when we're dancing, but we are communicating in very big ways. So I really love belly dance and the style in particular that I am in a lot.
So you're saying there's different styles of belly dancing?
Yes.
And
there's a whole tree.
Wow.
The branches are endless.
At different skill levels, I imagine, too. So it's not like, okay, just do this and you're done. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's something you get better at.
Yeah. So like my friend Glenda, she's teaching American tribal style. and she teaches level 1 classes. And the thing she says to all the level 1 students, she's like, this isn't just level 1, this is fundamentals. These are the hardest moves that you will learn, and you will always come back to them. It's like anything else we do. We always learn the fundamentals first for a reason, because it's the groundwork on which we build ourselves on.
Right.
So, I take my level 1 class all the time, because you gotta stay humble, right?
Yeah, so you keep taking that foundational class. That makes sense, you know. I think in sales or anything you want to be good at, I mean, I'm a huge baseball fan.
Yeah.
And before every game, they're out there doing ground balls and swinging the bat, just the basic stuff. So how many styles are there? Like more than a dozen, or?
At least, yes.
And which one are you?
So, American Tribal Style was founded actually in San Francisco. A lot of people would say, well, belly dance is from the Middle East, you know, but what Carolina Noricchio did, she's the founder of American Tribal Style, she took inspirations from all these different places, and notably the Spice Trail or the Romani Trail. So,
where's that?
Well, the inspiration comes from India all the way over to Spain. So
that was the big Spice Trail.
Yes, yeah, the Romani people. So that was kind of
gypsies. Right?
Yes, but we don't actually use that term because it's. It is, yeah.
Okay.
So they're actually a Romani people.
Right.
I love the different influences because, you know, Indian has its own style, right? Like the Odissi dancers, Rajasthani dancers are very cool. If you look them up, they're beautiful. They do the beautiful spinning barrel turns.
Right.
Over to flamenco in Spain, really strong, uplifted posture, and that's the belly dance that we do, whereas a lot of times it's, you know, more relaxed. Like if you're looking at Egyptian belly dancers, you know, they do a lot more drum solos and things like that, but this is a group dance. It's simple for the purpose of improvisation, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's wonderful.
So just to be clear, the Romani people, they would trade and travel along that route.
Yeah.
And they picked up various styles of belly dancing all along the way. And so the American tribal style was based on the Romani, which was a collection of different styles.
Yeah, mainly. Like, because there's other, we have movements straight from Gwazi tribes in Egypt as well. So the thing that I'll kind of say is it's such a rooted dance. Like when you see it, it's like your feet are planted on the ground and you're uplifted, right? So it's
All
there's
kinds
a lot of
influences.
All kinds.
Is it hard to do? Like, can anybody just
Anybody can do it.
Yeah.
Anybody can do it. It is harder than it looks because there are body isolations, right? So how often do we actually ask our arm to go behind our head without lifting our chest, right? Like having our arms elevated and up, we never do that. Even asking our hips to move in a certain way, we're usually just marching on forward, right? So there's a lot of, there's a large learning curve.
It's interesting what you said as it's a social thing.
Yeah.
What sort of occasion does this take place? Like I've heard of like dinners and people will say we're going to have belly dancing. Do they have competitions? Like how does this happen? You just get together with your group?
So I definitely get together with my group all the time, and the social part, so on a local level, we can get together and we have like belly dance parties, aka haflas. So we just dress up, we put music on, and we dance. And you have some nibbles and wine. Yes, the wine. But on a global scale, the dance I do, I could go to Russia next week, and I could not speak the language, but I could speak ATS with them. So I could actually go dance with a troupe in Russia.
ATS, American Tribal Style.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's what I really love about it. It's this community that's interconnected. Yeah, it's a language.
And tell us just a little bit about the physical benefits. So you said that some people have done exercise routines based on a type of belly dancing.
Yeah.
This is much more than that, but I guess it has some great physical benefits as well.
I'd say so, for sure. I suppose the main thing for me is that it gets me up and active all the time. It's good flossing for the brain as well, right? Because you're thinking while you're trying to move.
I see.
And if you ever try to do that, like move in a specific way while thinking about doing the next thing, it's not easy.
Right.
But it keeps me physically fit because I do dance at least 6 hours a week. And I'm also dabbling into some new styles as well because it's just fun, right? Like you get a workout at the end of the day and you're like, I don't even feel like I worked out, right? So that's my favorite part about it. It doesn't even feel like I've been working out yet. I'm like, oh, hey, I think I have abs.
That's awesome. Yeah, I always, I try to run and I really don't like it. And I realize that I love walking.
Yeah.
Right? And so why not do something you actually love to do? And it makes it so much easier to get into shape. And someone told me, just as a side note, if you're walking like you're late for a flight, not just sauntering along, but walk like you're late for a flight, like walk as fast as you can.
Yeah, I can picture that.
You're going to get in really good shape. And if you enjoy doing it, you don't feel like, oh, I got to go to the gym again. It's like, so that's super cool.
Well, we live such a sedentary lifestyle nowadays, and
how often do you do belly dancing?
4 times a week.
4 times a week.
Yeah.
Do you ever hear a song come on the radio and you just spontaneously start belly dancing?
Oh God, I embarrassed myself last night. So every once in a while, the radio station, we have some really cool deals, and so we were doing a Canucks kind of package deal. So we gave tickets to some clients who decided to go in on a campaign. And so that's what we were in, one of those box seats.
Yeah.
It was my first time in there, by the way. I was like, ooh, this is exciting.
Yeah, it's great.
So we were at Prospero watching the Canucks game, and some of the songs came on, and I'm like, just jamming, you know?
Yeah.
And then people always give me a weird look, and then I go, oh, right. Time and place, like, I have to stop myself from bursting out into full-on dance. I learned the Charleston.
What's that? That's like an old 1940s?
Yes.
Or 30s?
Yeah. So there's another dance style called tribal fusion, and so Carolina Noricchio, the American tribal style creator.
Right.
There were students underneath her who branched off and created another style of dance that was formed in North America. And so there's tons of these tribal fusion dancers now that they take steps like that.
Yeah.
And they have like finger cymbals. So you have these brass zills on your fingers and you play instruments. So they like put the Charleston to finger cymbals. And
cool.
It's very cool how you can take these movements and fuse them into and making it into belly dance.
Yeah.
Right?
Very neat.
Yeah.
Very neat. So if someone wants to talk to you about radio marketing, tell us again the stations that you're working for and what's the best way to get in touch with you to start a discussion about it.
Yeah, so I work for Beach Radio 103.1 and Power 104. And basically the best way to get a hold of me is you can go to our website, beachradiokelowna.ca, and they have a contact us, and you just call the phone number there and ask for Brittney.
Fabulous. That's great. Now, Brittney, who would you like to nominate to come on the show in the future?
Okay, not to be inappropriate, but because it's the 69th episode,
the next one is. This is 68.
This is 68, so next episode is 69th.
Yes.
I'd like to nominate Kim Williams from Wild Kingdom.
Wonderful. Fabulous. I've been wanting to talk to her for a while. So
good. She's got some great information for you.
Tell us a little bit about Kim. Why do you like her so much? Whatever you feel comfortable.
Yeah, no, Kim's an awesome lady. I've been working with her for radio campaigns for a while now.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so she is a client of mine.
Great.
And so they own Wild Kingdom on Lawrence Street there, and they're just, if you ever have
great
questions about anything, they're not afraid to answer them. Like, there's such a stigma attached to sex that I dislike, and I'm glad that they're just open about it.
Right. Awesome. Thank you.
It'd be an interesting interview.
I think so.
So I've noticed, because I've been listening to this station for 10 years, that it's changed a few times. Is this a bad thing, the change? Like, change is good, but why does it keep happening?
So what you're referring to is our older station, which was Q, and we kept changing the format to see if it would stick within ratings. And that was what we had struggled with for a while, because what we were getting was, the demographics were good, but we found that we were second to another station, and we couldn't quite get around that. But basically, we were one of 2 formats that were already, in the market. So that was something that we really needed to address. And one of the things, too, was that we didn't have the financial support when we were Q1031. Like, we weren't marketing it. And I think a lot of people would agree that they didn't see it everywhere unless you were at some community events. So then last year, we finally conducted a survey in the spring, and we asked our participants that would be our target audience what they wanted. And basically what we got back was, we want what we love, the nostalgic days of the 80s and 90s. And we're like, oh, okay. And so then we flipped Q 103.1 to Beach Radio. And this was right when The Juice, if you can remember that format, they played everything, and they didn't quite have a dialed-in niche, exactly. So we're like, oh, Juice is out, we can do 80s, 90s now? So there was suddenly an opening in the market that we were like, we can do this, we can hit it hard. We brought in a new program director who took direction from like Edmonton, Vancouver, big markets. So that's why we have I really believe we have a big market sound now. And we've actually been investing quite a bit of money in this station, because we really believe that this format is like the key to people's hearts. Like, the 80s and 90s is really fun. We got a great morning show, midday, afternoon drive, like solid on-air team. So that was what we've been waiting for a long time. And, we have switched out some management and that kind of stuff, but that was the biggest thing, With the station change, we're seeing a lot of momentum in the market now.
It's so true. Older people among us, we love that music because we remember it, and
we know the words.
But we have, there's kids who say, "Oh, my parents used to listen to that," or I had a big brother, big sister that used to listen to that stuff all the time, and so everybody loves 80s and 90s music. It's so true.
You were on a Cube Cruiser, weren't you?
I was, yeah.
I would drive around all the events and promote them on air.
I was a lot of fun. I'm still a lot of fun.
You are still a lot.
I had free prizes.
That's wonderful. Thanks so much.
Yes, of course. Thank you for having me.
Meet Kate.
Hello.
She seems like an ordinary girl, but a while back, Kate's dad lost his job.
Aww.
Since then, their family has spent all their savings and are about to lose their home. At times, they even have no money for food.
My tummy hurts.
Kate is one of 2,000 kids here who struggle with hunger. But there's hope. Central Okanagan Food Bank. Visit cofoodbank.com now to donate and help us set a plate for Kate.
Thank you.
Wickerland Patio. You have an incredible view, but your outdoor furniture is lackluster. Make your outdoor surroundings as beautiful as the world around you with custom patio furniture from Wickerland Patio. Choose your fabric, choose your style. They can custom order and deliver it to you faster than anyone else. Wickerland Patio on Highway 97, 1 block north of Costco, and at wickerland.ca. Outdoor living at its best. Wickerland Patio.
This Christmas, give the gift of an amazing experience, like walking a plank hundreds of feet in the air, fighting alien enemies, or swimming with whales. This shopping season, stop into Arcadia Virtual Reality Lounge, pick up a gift certificate, and blow everyone else's gifts away. Santa likes virtual reality, and so will your loved ones. With everything from intense action games to amazing experiences, there's something for everyone at Arcadia Virtual Reality Lounge. on McCurdy Corner and at ArcadiaVR.ca.